Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the greatest show on earth. This is the Great Debaters Contest, Nyeri edition. I am your host, Austin Nyambok.
And I am Mariam Bishar. And as we know, one of our sustainable development goals focuses on the production of clean energy. So today we're asking, should Africa invest in nuclear energy? Mahiga girls versus Daraja Academy. Can't wait to see who takes the day. Proposal number 1, you have 3 minutes.
Nuclear energy is the energy embedded within the nucleus of an atom. It can be obtained through two reactions, either by nuclear fusion or by nuclear fission. To invest is to spend your money, effort, and energy on something that you believe the ultimate results will be gorgeous. Why do I say Africa should invest in nuclear energy? According to NASA Goddard Institute of Space Studies, it's estimated that in less than 10 years, we are expecting a huge climatic disaster. Why? Because the current annual temperature rise is 2 degrees Celsius. In order to keep up with this temperature rise, then we need a more safer source of energy. This safe source of energy is not fossil fuels, and neither is it sun and wind because they are not reliable. The only option we have left is nuclear energy. Either we agree or disagree, the only option is nuclear energy, no any other option. The modern day plant has all systems taken and precautions taken in account that will help prevent accidents and casualties. First, the modern day plants do not depend on external electricity, neither do they depend on external water sources for cooling. They have passive safety measures. This means that they will not cause any harm to our environment by using the water, and also they release very low amount of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, thereby protecting what is more dear to us, and that is our mother nature. The nuclear energy power supply can be adjusted to meet the demand. That means if the demand is low, then we can slow the reaction and get low amount of energy. And if the demand is high, then we can increase the rate of reaction and get more energy. This means that we'll save a lot on energy and also we'll be able to meet the increasing demand of energy. Africa, it's high time that we welcome industrialization. It's high time that we rank ourselves with the superpowers. Africa is the second largest continent in the world, and therefore we are supposed to be a first world country and not a third world country. Let's all come together and say hello to this nuclear renaissance. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes to make your opening statements.
What is nuclear energy? Nuclear energy is a powerful form of energy produced by converting matter to energy by splitting of elements such as uranium. Investing is putting money or resources into a project to make it more successful and much better. How can you make something more successful when the success itself you have not seen it? Nuclear energy is used in hospitals to treat cancer through radiology. Now you may treat the cancer that this patient has, but you give them more diseases by the radiations produced by nuclear energy. Such diseases include leukemia, which is a blood cancer, which can rarely be treated, where people require bone marrows, which are rare to find. Another thing, the earth itself is naturally radioactive. The food we eat, the land we walk on, all over the place, it's radioactive. Then you tell me to add radioactivity to the environment. What are we doing to this beautiful Africa of ours? Aren't we destroying it? Uranium itself that is used to produce nuclear energy is rare and unrenewable. What does this mean? Rare, hard to find, which means we are using expenses to look for this uranium. It is non-renewable in that once used, it cannot be used again. Why don't we invest in other forms of energy that can be reused, that are cleaner, and that are more healthy to the environment? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hear rebuttals beginning with the proposition. You have 3 minutes.
I, as Njoki Ngatia from Daraja Academy, stand here to focus on what truly matters to this great continent of ours. Why do I say that African countries should invest in nuclear energy? My fellow proposers just told us that nuclear energy causes death when it is used in hospital and it can cause leukemia. But I tell you that nuclear energy has been found out that's according to a research from the Hill, that it actually saves more life than it causes. The American country itself has been able to save 5,000 lives by using nuclear energy. That is by preventing respiratory diseases. I'll go on to my first point and say that we all dream of a bright future. And I may not know what your bright future is, but I know what a bright future is not. A bright future is not a future where a quarter of African population depend on kerosene to light their houses at night. A bright future is not when my favorite program has to be interrupted because of a power blackout. A bright future is not a future where my child has to go to school without finishing his or her homework because of lack of electricity. That is a case that is experienced in most African countries, giving an example of Kenya, because when the water level in our rivers go down, we are not able to generate hydroelectric electricity. That causes us to experience power rationing, whereby at some days of the week we don't have electricity. Let us look at our education sector. We want to go digital in our education. Let's take an example of Kenya, Uganda, South Africa. We want to go digital in our education, but we cannot do that without energy. We cannot do that without electricity. And nuclear energy is promising a bright future for our education. We need electricity to ensure that every child has a laptop in school. We need electricity to ensure that industries run properly. And nuclear energy does not depend on environmental conditions. It's not like wind, whereby we have to have wind so that we can produce energy. It's not like solar, where we have to have sun so that we can produce energy. No. You may give us 1,000 reasons as to why we should not invest in nuclear energy, but we only need one reason as to why we should invest in nuclear energy. That is for a bright future. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes for your rebuttal.
Mikasa Sukasa, your home is my home. I am an African and they are Africans, as they said. My Africa is your Africa and it is their Africa. So why do we want to destroy the bright future of Africa by introducing nuclear energy? First, they say that we can be able to develop Africa using the only choice that we have is to take nuclear energy. I would like to tell them there's a source of energy called hydrogen energy. And as opposed to nuclear energy, it is renewable. And also it is environmentally friendly, and also it is a source of fuel for ships, rockets, vehicles, and homes. Let us go to the effects of nuclear energy. There was a Fukushima disaster in Germany in 2010. What were the effects? They have talked about saving lives, but let me show you what radiation can do to lives. First of all, we have a child here. Let us all look at this child. The child was born like this because the mother was exposed to radioactive rays during the Fukushima leakage. We have another child who was born with 2 heads because of that same Fukushima leakage. What does the radioactive rays do to the sea plant, to the sea life, I mean? Look at this whale. It is a whale, yes, and it was attacked by those radioactive rays, and this is what happened to it. We also have a child who was deformed because of those radioactive rays. Are we talking about saving lives or destroying lives? What will happen to these children? What happens to these children who are born like that? We are also saying that radioactive rays are used to cure people, but in the first place, the radiotherapy can cure people, but at the same time, the nuclear energy is helping to bring the cancer to the people. So why are we trying to cure what we have caused using radioactivity? Second, accidents happen, and they do happen to many, but why are we trying to increase the possibility of accidents happening? There was another accident at Chernobyl. The accident at Chernobyl was very fatal, such that so many people died. Compared also, even to Fukushima, there was a death of 1,800 people who died. The following year, March 11, 2011, there was a leakage which caused evacuation of 300,000 people, which caused so much destruction in their lives. Can you consider 300,000 people being evacuated in a certain region like Central, where we have a dense population? Consider the effects. Secondly, Kenya plans to be using nuclear energy by 2025. This is a very good development plan, but I would like you to consider other sources of energy that can help us to be able to curb all our problems concerning the energy issues. Thank you.
The proposers have been asked to give us solutions for the problems that nuclear energy poses. And of course, the opposition have been asked, all the scenarios that they've given include nuclear energy being used for harm, but is it not possible to use nuclear energy for good as well and for energy production? We'll have them respond. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Most of us will start complaining of radioactive emissions, but you've already learned chemistry. And haven't you known that using boron rods is one of the solutions? Your question is answered. Taking a new step, uttering a new word is what people fear most. And that is why me, Stella Wachira, from Daraja Academy, will strongly propose this motion. Taking into account of the Fukushima accident, research still shows that continued use of nuclear energy will save 420,000 to 7.04 million deaths. So please understand this. We understand that there have been a lot of accidents, but even as we consider those accidents, we can still see that continued use of nuclear energy is still saving more lives. You tell us, actually you've agreed with us when you are telling us that nuclear energy is used in the treatment of cancer. That is true. Then why are you opposing the motion? Seriously? We can say that there is a global need of energy. There is a global need of electricity. We've already used solar. It's not working for us. During the time that some countries always have winter, some countries in Africa will have cold season most of the time, and you're still telling them to rely on solar. Others also have drought, as in DRAUGHT, where wind is not accessible, and you still want them to use wind? We've tried all these things. Why are they not working? Why are they not working? And let me tell you something. When in doubt, why don't you try using change? We need change. We don't need ignorant minds. We need minds that are innovative. We need minds that know what they want for their future. You tell me about my environment, then listen to this. When we talk about our environment, we can see that the usage of nuclear energy is helping us by not emitting 64 million tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. When we use fossil fuels are still emitting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. You do use charcoal at your homes, right? Why is it that you are told that you should not place a jiko in a room with closed windows, and you're still telling me to use that? We've tried a lot of them. And when you're telling me about uranium not being, when you're telling me about nuclear energy not being renewable, uranium, you only need one pinch, only one pinch. Tell me how long it will take for it to be exhausted. My dear proposers, I salute you. Fellow opposers, please cross over.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes to respond.
A lot has been said about nuclear energy, but what do we people know about nuclear energy? Okay, they're telling us that we should use uranium as another source of energy that is readily available. But let me tell you, uranium deposits might be many in the whole world, but the uranium that is used, which is uranium-235, is a very rare type of uranium, and that is the uranium that is used in homes and industries in making electricity. So it is not all types of uranium that are used to produce energy. Okay, there was a question posed on if there are advantages of using nuclear energy. Yes, they are. But what are we doing? The disadvantages are outweighing the advantages. You tell us that
Nuclear energy helps us in controlling cancer, curing cancer, but what brings this cancer if it isn't from that nuclear energy? So what are we doing? Okay, we are getting the emissions that are coming from the nuclear plant are the ones which are causing cancer into us. And then we look for solutions. We use the same nuclear energy to make solutions by getting radiology, which is used in treating cancer. Well, that's good, but what are we doing? Are we guinea pigs that every time you make something, you're trying, you're not yet so sure. You're trying to use nuclear energy. So it brings about cancer. And then you cure us with cancer. So what is that? You're making a disease to cure it? Is that really sensible? Okay, uranium deposits in the world are about 1% of the ones that are used. 1%. So what will this make? It will make the countries have a high dependency rate, because countries in Kenya which have uranium are like Malawi, in Kayareka, which is, there's uranium deposits, but they are mined by an Australian company known as Paladin Energy. So this is causing the dependency. Are we going back to where we used to depend on the developed countries to earn our living? We are going back to where we were like colonization. We're depending on the developed countries to give us energy, because we have them, but we can't mine them. Okay, uranium nuclear energy is very expensive to mine, because those reactor plants, they have an expiry date. And what do you do when they get expired? You have to dismantle the plants and build about 80 new plants in a duration of about 10 years. Do we have that capital? Kenya is already suffering. We have a debt of about 4 trillion. Why are we burdening ourselves with more and more burdens and debts? What we should do is, we already have forms of energy: geothermal, solar, wind, and hydrogen energy, which is a very reliable source of energy. So please, let's focus on what we already have. I'm Tracy Mugo.
Thank you. We'll hear closing statements. Proposition, you have 1 minute.
I'm joking, Gatia, as I said earlier. Thank you, my fellow opposers, for telling us that the nuclear energy is expensive. But I'll tell you this: if lighting your continent is expensive, then try ignorance. Try ignorance of staying in darkness and tell me which will be more expensive. The main reason why people resist change is because they focus on what they are going to lose rather than what they are going to gain. What I'm going to tell you is that a combination of using geothermal, a combination of using hydroelectric electricity, plus the nuclear energy we are going to bring will create a bright future for our continent. As I told you earlier, you have given us your 1,000 reasons as to why we should not invest in nuclear energy. But I'll tell you this: we need a bright Africa. We need a bright future for our people. So please, let's invest in nuclear energy. Thank you.
Thank you. Opposition, you also have 1 minute.
Is this the solution that we need to getting the energy that we want in Africa? They're talking about saving money. I'm talking about saving lives. And that is why we are trying to give you a solution. We should use hydrogen energy, which has no effects on the lives of people. And also, we should try and save our Africa, and also save the people in it. Do we have any future without the people? To my opponents, I would like to tell you, if you can't beat them, then join them. Joyce Maina, Mahiga Girls.
We want to commend your research, first of all, because the examples that were being drawn to this motion were very relevant, and that simply means that your research was up to task. So that was good and commendable. So nonetheless, maybe let me start by addressing the first speakers. Athiambo, you utilized your time well. However, your style and delivery as a start for your speaking team was quite, let me say, under, because the other two members were quite on a higher level, okay? Now, when we come to the first speaker on this at the end, very good speaker, good start, and the first submission you gave very well. However, you only utilized 1 minute and a few seconds. That simply means you were penalized as the first speaker. When we come to the cross-examiners, powerful, because I see Njoki Joki, you're such a powerful speaker, very good coherency, good speaker and cross-examiner, and very convincing. That is powerful for you as a cross-examiner. But when you cross over to Joyce as well, same thing. Then Joyce comes even with pictures to even convince us. And I think you should have used now those pictures to even evoke our emotions now. That would have been very powerful. You missed that opportunity, but nonetheless, that was very good. So both of you at some point almost balanced because of that. And that was very commendable. One is very good at articulating. One even uses our emotions to evoke us to one end. When we come to the third speakers as well, that's a power game as well. And that was very powerful. So Nyaidaji overall, and also Tracy overall, good research, and well articulated as well. So that being the case then, the difference that comes into the first speakers, and that's what brought in. But we want to commend what you both did, and that was a good motion, good justice to the motion. Let's wait for the results.
Very slim margin between these two teams. I'll begin with Mahiga girls. You scored 68%. Please give them a round of applause. Your opponents, Daraja Academy, scored 69%, making them the winners of this debate.
Congratulations to the two teams on stage. We'd also like to thank your studio audience for being very active, and our viewers back home. Please engage us on social media under the hashtag GDC for SDGs. And I've been your host, Austin Nyambok.
I'm Mariam Bashar. Thank you for watching.
The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.